Does your child have ADHD? How do you know for sure? If yes, do you know what type of ADHD they have? Did you know that there are 6 different subtypes of ADHD within the diagnostic manual that medical doctors use? Well, when it comes to ADHD, a condition that causes kids to become more easily distracted or confused, it can be entirely confusing for parents and kids alike themselves to find out the answer to one key question. Do I really have ADHD? The thing is that ADHD continues to be blamed on things like genetics or chemical imbalances, but there's really not any actual diagnostic test in the medical field for ADHD. Sure, they can throw things like a movement tracker on your child, but really, if you have an active child, that should not be the sole determiner or a big part of the fact of saying they're either hyperactive or slapping a diagnosis on them. More commonly, parents or teachers fill out a survey or questionnaire, takes about 15 minutes, and with the results of that, you can get a label or a diagnosis of ADHD for the purpose of prescribing them an addictive and a dangerous medication, a stimulant drug. And the thing is, this isn't just an occasional thing. This is a problem that many parents are facing head on. 6 million kids in the United States are diagnosed with ADHD, and over 4 million of them are on a psychoactive medication as a result. So let's step back a second. Let's look at this from a bird's eye view. We've got a neurological disorder that has no medical test looking for or actually proving the fact that a chemical imbalance is the real root cause. Also, and here's the kicker, this one is what always gets me. Parents are frustrated because their kids can't sit still or pay attention in school or in other situations where they want to behave well, such as social gatherings. But the second they get home and they sit down in front of the TV or a video game, man, they are laser focused. They're watching the bosses move around. They're getting here, getting there. They're winning this race. They're shooting that boss. Thing is, they're not lacking the ability to focus here because they're able to do it on end for hours at a time. So to look at that again stirs up some of that frustration and confusion. Our goal today is to talk a little bit more about what we see as the root causes of ADHD, what we look at for our test from a non-medical perspective in order to test for or demonstrate the neurological dysfunction and the imbalance that causes it. And the other thing, there are 6 different subtypes of ADHD, and that is a little too much for me. We're going to break it down to 2. We got our raging bulls and we got our drunken bulls. So parents, come along with me. This is for you guys if you're looking for a deeper method or something to test and look for the root cause of your child's ADHD. Our goal is to determine whether they are that raging bull, that drunken bull, and most importantly, find a drug-free, natural option to help your child reach their full potential without being stuck on a stimulant medication for a long time. So here's the deal. If you've watched any of my stuff, you notice that sometimes I get really excited about things and I start to talk pretty fast. Well, the thing is, I have the ability to talk on this specific situation because living a life such as I've lived, I've gone through a whole lot of different struggles. And I understand from a very close perspective the challenges that something like ADHD can bring to the table. Now, a second ago, I talked about the raging bulls and the drunken bulls. And honestly, I guess I'm a bit of a raging bull myself. I am go, go, go. Got to do this, got to do that. Oh, my squirrel. All these things going out of my brain all the time. It's kind of like a tornado in there. It's a little scary. But the important thing to look at is got a handle on it at this point. I work my best when I'm moving fast, when I've got a lot of stuff to do, when I've got pressure, and I've got a bunch of things going on at once. Over the last couple of years, I've completed 2 monumental projects. My wife and I renovated an 1860s farmhouse, which we would start on one thing, get halfway through it, and then we would absolutely have to start on the next thing. We get halfway through that. So we had all of these like partially finished things that eventually all got done, but we work a little bit here, work a little bit there, work a little bit over here. And you could see that this was kind of just all over the place. Along with that, I was also restoring an old Jeep that we had picked up from a family friend who had passed away, and his wife really wanted to see it come to completion. So here I am. We have this 1860s farmhouse that needs to be completely redone 100%, and it did, and it looked amazing when we were finished. And I also had this project car, which I absolutely didn't need because I had enough projects going on. I was working a full-time job, and we were just, doing our thing. Safe to say, all of these things were pulling me in 100 different directions. I would go to sleep at night, and my brain would be going, go, 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 go. And at this point in my life, I have a very good control of it. It doesn't really control me. It's just there. But rewind back into the days of school time, and I would come to class and, oh, there's a test today. Didn't remember that. Had my brain in a whole bunch of other places. Hand in your homework. What homework? So I'm feverishly scribbling down answers as fast as I can when I get to class because my brain had just been somewhere else the day before. And I'm lucky I was able to get through all that stuff. I was a really, really good student because I have a very, very good memory, and memorizing things has been very helpful, but it didn't make me more organized. And you would think that being good at memorizing things would make me memorize my schedule, but, that just didn't happen very well. Anyways, I would get bored in school. I'd struggle to pay attention. I was always thinking about something else. You could throw onto that a nice, healthy dose of balance and coordination issues. I grew 4 inches one summer, and my basketball coach was probably the happiest man in the world until he saw how uncoordinated I was, which became kind of a joke and wasn't funny to me at the time, but I can laugh at it now. And especially when you're looking at things like fast growth, balance and coordination issues, those are also sensory processing issues. So not only was my body changing, but it was going through this whole crazy mix of all this different stuff going on. And the thing is, this is the early to mid 90s. And honestly, it wasn't super diagnosis happy. I don't remember a lot of kids in school with me that had ADHD diagnoses or other diagnoses, come to think of it. But overall, I am abundantly happy that I was not diagnosed with ADHD and slapped on a class 2 narcotic. Because to be honest, that would have changed who I was as a person and the person that I grew into. And when I talk to my parents about it, or talking to friends and talk to their parents about things like this, they kind of share the same sentiment. Back then, they call it, which really wasn't that long ago. Come on, the 90s, it's not that bad. People didn't want their kids slapped on medications. And it's usually because no matter how frustrating these ADHD type situations can get, they didn't want their child to be changed. Now, the same thing. Now, parents then and parents now share a common trait. They want to know what's going on with their kid. They want to know what's the root cause of their child's ADHD. And they'd really like a test to be able to measure the neurology and find those root causes behind it. Most importantly, finding drug-free options to help balance out that child's brain, body, and their nervous system to get them away from that perfect storm of brewing of all of these different things constantly barraging them. So, if you are one of those moms or dads or grandparents or friends that have this thought process that you really just want some answers about your kid, stick around. This is for you. Now, one thing that is vital to looking at cases where we're talking about a diagnosis of ADHD is going way beyond just chasing symptoms. And that's the thing. One of the first things that we talk about is what I call the neuro fuse box. Essentially, you have a fuse panel in your house, and you know that each circuit goes to a different thing. Now, if one of these circuits is bad and the things at the end of the circuit aren't functioning properly, you can do everything you want to those things at the end of the circuit. If you change the light bulb out in the lamp, but the circuit breaker has blown, well, you can change that light bulb every day. It ain't going to get any better. It's not going to turn on unless you go back to the source, which is that fuse box, trip that fuse, and then it works the right way. That breaker panel, those individual breakers are the source, or what we call the root cause of the things on the outside not working as well. So by looking at it from an outside-in perspective, we're really doing an injustice, and we need to look from the inside out. This is how we find that root cause of ADHD, neurological imbalance, and dysfunction head on. And it's also where our insight, examination, and scanning technology comes in. These insight scans measure the exact areas where there is a ton of this built up, pent up stress, think the breaker, and it finds that specific location in your child's central and autonomic nervous system. From here, we can see exactly how it leaves them stuck in that gas pedal down, sympathetic, fight or flight overdrive mode. When the gas pedal is stuck on, it means that that brake pedal is shut down, which we can get a graphical representation of when we look at our deep dive into our heart rate variability scan. The really cool thing about the heart is it has its own internal pacemaker. It can do its own thing. You beat it 72 beats per minute, you're good to go. Unless you need to have a stress response, fight or flight, then that increases. That heart rate's going to go up. That's the sympathetic side of the nervous system. Or we're really relaxed, we're sleeping, we're in a very calm state, and it lowers that heart rate. By looking at heart rate variability, we can examine the pulse wave and see how much of each system is inputting at any given time. And I tell you what, if I sound excited, it is because I am, and it is cool. From what we've seen a very strong link with ADHD and a lowered or suppressed HRV status. What this means is that the parasympathetic vagus nerve, rest, relax, regulate side of the system is shut down. It ain't working properly. It's not dead, it's just not doing its job. Once we go through our full scan, we can see how much energy is being wasted. Because if we think about it like this, if your body has one bucket of energy, big bucket in the middle, 5-gallon bucket from Home Depot, and you've got a bunch of 1-gallon buckets all around it with things like immunity, digestion, function, cognition, sensory processing. And we take that 5-gallon bucket, we dump 5 gallons of water into the excess energy spend or, go energy bucket. Well, are you going to have enough water to fill up the other buckets? No. Once we get through these scans, we can tell if your child is one of the two, remember, taking it from 6 to 2 because I like easy, types of ADHD that we see clinically. Are they that raging bull or are they a drunken bull? Now, as you would think, raging bull kiddos are the classic case. They're constantly wound up. They're impulsive. Gotta do this, gotta do that. And they're always getting in trouble, finding themselves in trouble. Now, a drunken bull is kind of just, do. They may not be super hyperactive, but they have a really hard time with focus. They have a hard time following directions. They have a hard time with coordination and emotional regulation. And to make it even more interesting, some kids have a little bit of both. Once we have our scans and our ADHD testing back, we deep dive through it. I spend a couple hours on every single case to put the connections together in the right place. From there, we fully customize a neurological restoration care plan for your kiddo. And based on if they're a raging bull or a drunken bull, it's going to guide what type of adjusting we're going to start off with in making sure that we can start taking care of this system. Our neurotonal adjustments do two key things every single time. We stimulate and activate that parasympathetic, that vagus nerve rest, calm, regulate, eat, sleep, poop side of the nervous system, which in turn is going to reduce, lower, even out that stress stuck on gas pedal sympathetic side of the nervous system. We also rebalance and reorganize the connection and the communication in between the brain, the body, and the busy, stressful environment and world that our kids live in nowadays. Gotta remember, when we make these adjustments, it sends a stimulus. Nerves that fire together, stimulus, wire together. They function better. Once we kick off this neurologically focused care plan, again, specific to your kiddo based on their case history and their scan findings, then we put these adjustments to work. And over the course of a few weeks to months, we start to see raging bull kiddos start to be able to calm down and focus and follow directions and regulate their emotions. We see drunken bulls have more confidence, coordination, and emotional regulation as well. So, if you've been slapped with an ADHD diagnosis and you're really wondering if they really have ADHD or not, or if you have seen any of the behaviors that we have outlined in this video, and you're wondering, is my kiddo a raging bull? Are they a drunken bull? Are they a combo bull? A combo bull? Then give us a call today to learn more about what we do to schedule an insight scan for your kiddo and to truly look deeper into their nervous system. We're going to find the root cause of your child's struggles. We are going to help them. Can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to help you. I'll see you soon. Take care.